Got the calories needed. All righty. Well, it being 5:30, we'll bring the meeting of the Shelburne Select Board on April 22nd to order. And how is everybody doing? Hi, Rick.
Hello. Wonderful.
Good. Hi, Terry.
Hello.
And let's see, we've got a bunch of minutes here. So we are our first item is to review the minutes of April 4th, April 8th, and April 16th. The 4th was the Finance Committee, right?
Yes.
And the 8th was that executive session or no?
Nope, that was our regular meeting.
Yeah.
Oh, that was our regular meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then April 16th
was the highway interview.
Highway interview. Thank you. All right, Rick, have you had a chance to look at those?
I have read all three. I find them perfectly in order with no changes from my side. And unless you have changes, I'm prepared to move that we accept them as a batch.
All right, I will second. And I do, in the spirit of discussion, just have one word that jumped out at me in the minutes of our last meeting when we were reviewing the age-friendly plan with Phoebe. She noted down the 8 areas of the plan as areas of liability, which I thought was a strange word. I'm always a little bit leery of the word liability in municipal terms, but I thought 8 areas of activity might be better, since I don't think the town is actually liable for any of those things. I don't know. Did you all have a different take on that?
I missed that completely in the presentation. I see it here in the minutes.
I will refer back to their pamphlet and come up with a different word, if that's okay with the both of you.
That would be fine.
Yeah. I'm willing to accept that change to that April 8th minutes.
Great. All righty. Is there any further discussion on the 3 sets of minutes?
No.
Hearing none, we'll bring to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the 3 minutes of April 4th, 8th, and 16 are accepted as amended. Department liaison reports, Rick.
Okay, I mentioned last meeting that the Emergency Management Committee has decided to meet quarterly, and that brought their most recent one to last Thursday. They had a very productive meeting now that they appreciate their composition and process. The 2 notable references from that meeting are that the Emergency Operations Center is fully functional, having had the radios moved from the previous Emergency Operations Center, which was the Shelburne Fire Station. We'll get more on that under new business. In a nutshell, there's 3 levels of radios that they use. A VHF radio, which is their connection to MEMA, a UHF radio, which is the highway frequency, and an 800 megahertz radio system, which is the fire, police, and EMS. So all 3 have been moved and are functional. The only other item they had was their Emergency Operations Center has begun training. 6 volunteers started training last week, and 2 more will be starting training this week. So things are moving right along for that. Veterans Services, I had mentioned previously that on April 29th, there'll be a VA event at the college. It'll be 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. on April 29th. It's the VA, the GCC, and the Veterans Services Office partnering for this event. The VA is going to cover healthcare enrollment. They'll conduct toxic exposure screening, the VA transportation for veterans, and the Veterans Services Office will cover claims and PACT Act changes. They say that there should be a press release in the Recorder this week with those details as well for any veterans that would like to attend. That's all I have.
Thank you, Rick. Terry, do you have anything on the town offices?
Nothing on the town office. Most of my stuff will come up on the agenda.
Okay. And I only have a few brief items. I did attend the Franklin Regional Council of Governments meeting. They needed to appoint somebody to the executive committee there, which they did. And let's see, there were a couple of other notes. One being that there is a study that the Mass Broadband Institute is doing to try to identify those few people left who in various towns who are still not connected to high-speed internet. So I did check with our internet guru, Mike Duffy, and he says that everybody in town at least has access to high-speed internet, either through Comcast, 94% of us, or the remaining 6% have access through Colerain's broadband network. And there are a few stragglers who have not connected, but mostly it sounded like to me for financial reasons, not technical ones, because they have very long driveways and it would cost them a lot to get hooked up. So I'll forward that back to the FERCog to see if there's any funding available to those people. But I don't know that that's the aim of MBI or not. So, but it was good to know that we're fully covered if we want to be. Oh, and the other thing I noticed, Rick and Terry, is that FERCog has completed a wage classification study for the county. So that may lower our cost of doing our own process when we get there. Have you found that to be true in the past, Terry?
They do the wage and classification study every year. It's based on this fiscal year's figures. But in terms of the police department, he would like to expand having incentives, perhaps additional positions, shift differentials. So I'm going to reach out to the towns on that wage classification that already have that system in place and see how they set it up, who they used.
I see. So the FERCog's data doesn't really go into that kind of detail in terms of all those different bells and whistles.
No.
Yeah, okay. All righty. Well, that's all I have. I think the Pratt committee was supposed to meet, but didn't get a posting together. So we'll have to find a different time to meet. But that's all I've got. Let's see, we got a few minutes till 5:45. Are we obligated to wait, Terry, or should we? Well, I will knock off at least one item of old business here. The RFP for proposed solar on the pole barn roof project was advertised on April 17th and proposals are due May 7th. Is there anything more to say on that?
There will be a mandatory walkthrough Wednesday at 2:30 for bidders to come and take a look at the project site.
Oh, good. So it'll be good to know how many people show up for that. It'll may give us some sense of what our bid looks like. I did learn over the weekend that there may be a silver lining to our delayed RFP, in that it sounds like Western Mass is now eligible under the Inflation Reduction Act rules that the state is now adopting for an additional 10% municipal direct payment on top of the 30%. So that may be a little boost to our budget there.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
I do have one question on that subject. The advertisement went out the 17th. Did packets also go out with it to area solar companies?
Oh, it went out to at least 25 vendors, local and beyond.
Okay,
Yeah.
it was my understanding it was going to. I just hadn't heard it officially that it happened. And
yes.
So there was a substantial list then. That's great.
Yes.
Love it.
Good. And is there anything more to say about police advisory services, the advisory committee?
No one has come forth to serve as a member at large. I've made a few inquiries with people locally who I thought might be a valuable team member, but nobody has expressed interest to date.
I touched base with the chief on this, and he said that he had given you some names too.
Yes.
So you've reached out to them as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it can move forward without that slot filled in, but it would be nice if we can fill it in for sure at some point.
Good. Well, it being close to 5:45, maybe we'll return to Steve Howland, since he's been waiting patiently, and talk to Steve regarding his interest in using the pavilion at the Pocket Park. Steve, you're on deck here.
All right, great. You guys are very efficient. So I just want to get on the record. I've talked with Andrew about this. Hi, Rick.
Hi.
I've been running a fiddle, banjo, guitar jam session on Sunday afternoons, starting in Buckland about 15 years ago in front of the McCusker's Market. And that at some point they opened up the community room. We moved in there for the, well, we do that pretty much year round. With COVID, that got closed down. So with the permission, I checked with Josh and Katie and John and Susan, the owners of the Pocket Park lot, and they gave us permission to play music there. So we've been using that, excuse me, from since then. And I've been putting up a 10 by 10. We do Sunday afternoons from 4 to 7, and generally get 10 to maybe sometimes as many as 20 people. We've been in a lot of YouTube videos. We were featured in the advertising video that Kathy Roberts and the Realtors did for the town. So I just, if don't know we're there, we're there, and have a good, and it's a lot of fun. So I'm very excited about the pavilion. That's because we actually have not been able to play if it's been bad weather. So that'll allow us to play longer, play if it's raining, there's enough room under that. So just wanted to basically introduce myself and say, hey, I'm really excited about this. We want to use it. See if you had any questions. I had a couple of thoughts. I may put a sandwich board, bring one of those trifolds or one of those folding things that I would bring with us so people know we were doing it and what we were doing. I would just put that out when we're there and pick it up. I actually, since we play in the evening, the sun can get quite low, and I always had side panels that I hung in the tent, so that because really this 10 by 10 didn't give us any shade. So I would be interested in putting some hooks up on the west side of that pavilion so that I could hang my curtains from my 10 by 10 tent. Wouldn't have to. We may have enough room in there that we can just slide over closer to Foxtown, but that would be kind of nice to keep the sun out and probably to maybe help keep rain out. So that would be something I'd be interested in doing. We do bring our own chairs. We've always, in the past, since the picnic tables have been there, We've moved the picnic tables, and then when we're done, move them back, even though they're very heavy. And I would just say that, so I live in Buckland, but Deborah Hill Stevens lives in Shelburne Falls in Shelburne, and she co-runs that with me. Just basically like to let you know that we're there and enjoying that space, and just see if you had any questions for me about that.
Rick or Terry, do you have thoughts or questions for Steve?
What hours are you generally there, Steve?
4 to 7.
4 to 7.
My only comment would be that after reviewing the lease, there are restrictions on its use, and there's restrictions on our ability to designate the use by others.
Right.
It's designed to be an open and free public. Actually, the wording is, the lessee shall use the leased premises for a park and/or outdoor dining area for the general public, period. And that's all. So I'm not feeling like the select board of the town wants to get into the business of developing any relationship or trying to regulate who goes in when or any of that. I certainly don't want a brand new cedar sided and I think it's a polymer trim boards on the west side. Certainly don't want any hooks going in that for
that's fine,
for screening. That's my thoughts in general on it.
Yeah, so that's totally fine. I think it may be big enough that we'll just sit on the Foxtown side of it, and we'd be in the shade. So I just wanted to ask, and we will not do any hooks. I realize that you're not scheduling it. So, and that's generally, I mean, that's actually, I'm trying to think, in the 4 years that we've been using it, I've only had one conflict, which was that bridge of 1 year, I think it was last year, the bridge dinner folks were set up in the park. And so we just didn't do it. Other than that, it's Sundays and sometimes are usually quiet downtown. So just setting up and having people bring their meals over and sit and watch us, and even, dance, and actually people are bringing lawn chairs sometimes and sitting and watching us. So it's a lot of fun, and never been a conflict with anybody, but aware that would not be up to you guys. So no problem there.
Well, any further comments from you, Terry or Rick?
No.
No, I was just going to add my own 2 cents to that. And I've spoken with Steve about this, and my understanding of the park is that we have been advised by our attorney that if we were to hold events, or if other groups were to hold events and charge admission, and we had leased it out to them or whatever, or sublet it out to them, that would increase our liability as a town. So we were advised not to go in that direction. But in terms of, allowing folks to use the park in a sort of scheduled or programmatic way, like a music event or music series or whatever, we're not precluded from doing that, to my understanding. It's more just that we have, and Terry has expressed a general non-desire to become the programmer of the park. So that, leaves a, question as to how you would, sort of reserve that time. I think some options that I could see, developing down the road would be to, put up a little kiosk or signboard in the park that, you could have, give people notice of upcoming things that people might want to do that would become, maybe an informal kind of self-scheduling and advertising at that point. Or, and I think that the instance you alluded to about the bridge dinner does raise the question, because I think we did sort of give our okay or our nod to them to use the park during that event. So we, in effect, sort of violated our own ethos there by programming the bridge dinner into that time slot. So I think those are the kind of things that we will have to think about going forward. But my feeling is we can wait until we have a third select board member, and then we can decide on how we want to work those kinds of things.
Yeah, and I'm totally trying to be, I mean, again, it's just a wonderful, fun, there's no money, there's, it's just a group of people playing music together for the fun of it. And it's a great space. But I was sort of aware that, the pavilion is actually a very attractive thing. So, and I hope that more people will want to use it and Andrew and I have talked about, maybe it would be great to have more events there, and I'd be happy to be involved in that. So and I think part of it is just to have, so that the select board has an awareness that I am using that space. And so if someone says, hey, we want to use it on a Sunday, that you might, and we would, Bridge of Flowers, bridge dinner is fine. It would be great to get, Andrews text me and say, by the way, bridge dinner is going to be there. Because I have an email list, and so I can email people and say, we're not going to be there Sunday. Again, I'm trying to be very casual about it, very easy. And it's such a great space, and we love being there. So
yeah, and I just want to say, Steve, to thank you, because I think, I enjoy your music. Your group is great. The sound level is perfectly appropriate for that part of town. It's acoustic sound, and my wife and I have enjoyed waltzing on the sidewalk to your music. So,
I mean, one thing I might do is, if it would be all right, is if I get the sandwich board that says there's a jam session Sundays 4 to 7, maybe and Deborah is on here now, who works with me on this. Maybe she could go down and put it out in the morning or something, so that people would be aware that there's something happening in the evening. If that would be okay with folks, we could do that.
That's fine with me. Yeah.
Okay.
We have a similar sandwich board that we use for pothole pictures on Friday and Saturdays. So, I think that's a nice way to let people know that things are going on in town. And just as the other update, Terry, I don't know if the tech school kids were in town today.
Yes.
They were good. We've been advised that they're aiming for an early May finish to that. So hopefully the pavilion and the park will be free and open to the public in the not too distant future.
Well, let me just say that, there's another event that's going on May 11th, and another group that I'm involved with will be playing that day under the pavilion. And that's what was, offered to us, that, like they said, we're looking for a group to play, here. So it's not even just us. It's
right.
That was Maureen.
That's the spring and the falls event. Yeah.
Right. And yeah. And so, there are things going on which are, two towns sponsored. And I know that I get people who, stop me on the street, or friends who call and they say, are you guys going to be sitting out there playing tonight? So I know it's bringing people to town.
Good.
Yeah.
Andrew, until the tech school is done and the construction fence is down, they don't want anyone on that site.
We will not use it.
Okay.
That's all cleared up.
Yeah, no, I wasn't suggesting that anybody should. I was just saying that my hope is that they will be all clear at some point in early May.
Yeah.
Right. Because like I said, they have that date scheduled. They can put it someplace else as well, but
the May 11th thing is scheduled, right?
Yes.
Who knows? Yeah, we obviously aware that you can't use that if it's still under construction.
Yeah. Good. Well, thank you both, and enjoy the music, and hopefully we'll get the park in usable form soon.
Yeah, thanks to the town,
Great.
you guys, for doing what you've done there. So great.
Yeah.
Thank you. Come dance on Sundays.
All right. All
All
right.
right. Thank you.
All right.
Thanks,
Thank
Deb, for
you.
coming in. All right. We'll see you.
Bye-bye.
I was pleased to see in biking downtown this afternoon that the north sidewalk of the Iron Bridge is open. So, and it looks like the south sidewalk will get paved soon. So we should have at least one bridge open for the summer there.
I just
And,
crossed it a few minutes ago.
so that's a step in the right direction.
Yeah.
Good. All righty. Let's see. We're at 5 of 6. And our next item of business is review of the draft annual town meeting warrant with the Finance Committee. Looks like the Finance Committee is here. Am I right about that, or should we wait 5 more minutes?
They are here, but they're muted, so I'm not sure whether they know that they'll be on soon.
Well, all right. Well, let's take a few items and we'll see if they unmute themselves there and join us. So new business A is Joe Judd regarding the Memorial Day Committee appointments.
As you know, the Memorial Day Committee was officially formed, but has yet, actually this will be the first round of appointments to it. They have met, the group that handles the Memorial Day events right along, and they have suggested 4 people to make up the membership and make the committee official. And I'm prepared to move that unless you have discussion before, Andrew.
Usually have discussion after the motion, so go ahead and move it.
Then I would move that we accept the recommendations of veterans Doug March and veteran John Chadwick, and community members Joe Judd and Jackie Goodman to be appointed to the Memorial Day Committee.
And I will second that. And is there any discussion?
No.
All right. I don't have any discussion other than it's good to see where Rick, you're getting us back in shape there in terms of getting our committees to establish themselves on the anniversaries that they're supposed to. So if there's no further discussion, we'll bring it to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And I see the Finance Committee on screen there. Are you all ready to launch into the warrant?
Yes, we are.
All righty. Well, let's go and start right through. Let's see. Terry, do you think we should just go through it one by one or jump to particular items here?
The first 6 are boilerplate.
Right.
And Article 2 corresponds to the dollar amounts that are in the omnibus article.
Mm-hmm.
And Article 7, we had reviewed with the Finance Committee, I believe, on April 8th. But if there's anything there that you'd like to revisit, please let me know.
Article 7, is there any of those line items you want to talk about now?
No, we're good with those line items.
All right. So then we are on to Article 8 is funding the Mohawk Trail Regional School District's capital budget for 2025, $56,784. Any discussion on that?
Just want to make mention that the assessment was higher, but they have applied our surplus funds to reduce that amount to $56,784.
So they were never really receptive to town council's recommendation to return it and put the new warrants articles on the warrant.
That's correct.
Okay.
Anything further on that?
Nope.
Article 9, Osro Miller, my favorite article.
No.
Article 9, 10, and 11 are pretty much boilerplate. The only change in Article 11 is that the Recreation Committee requested that their revolving fund be increased from 2,000 to 3,000 to allow them a little more spending money as user fees come in to allow them to buy more recreational supplies.
All right, any comments on that, on those?
Nope.
All right. Article 12 is budget transfers. And you want me to go down Franklin Tech School? I'm just going to read them out. You call them out if there's anything you want to stop. Roof replacements, municipal vehicle stabilization, highway equipment stabilization, police municipal building, the Western Star highway truck, highway dump truck with plow and sander. Those are all continuations or coming out of sub-stabilization accounts. I'm not hearing any commentary.
No, we're good with all those on 12.
Okay. And we've got Article 13.
This was recommended by our auditors. The article that we had voted back in 2015, there's been changes to the OPEB law, Chapter 32B, Section 20. So this is rescinding the vote from 2015 and updating it to the acts of 2016.
Any comment there? Hearing none, we'll go to 14, transferring 27,000 for purchase of a new server at Town Hall. Anything on that?
Nope.
Article 15, transfer 5,000 from stabilization for a copier. Any comments?
No.
Nope.
Article 16, transfer 55,000 from the Housing Trust Fund to pay half the cost of a new elevator at the Arms Library. Any comment there?
So that 55, that's kind of like a placeholder as they work through looking for other monies through either grants or however fundraising.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
That's kind of getting us started down the process so we won't be caught entirely short if the elevator dies unexpectedly or sooner than we would wish. We'll at least be partway toward a replacement.
Are we requiring them to look for additional funding on their own, or?
Yes, that's already been on the Pratt Memorial Committee agenda for a while, and so that's Lori has that in her charge there.
Okay.
So no problem with that.
Great. Article 18 is town vote to appropriate or reserve from the Community Preservation Fund annual excess revenues and amounts recommended by the Community Preservation Committee for committee administrative expenses, community preservation projects, and other expenses in fiscal 2025, with each item to be considered a separate appropriation or take any other action relative thereto. I think this article is essentially one more step in activating the Community Preservation Committee, which got voted in last year. And they have now met and incorporated, and they have their people in place. And I think this is one more step in getting them to be a functioning group. Any comments there?
Each year, whatever the committee recommends, the CPC committee recommends, each of those then come to town meeting?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Recommendations, I got it, yeah.
Yeah, so those will be just like all these other warrant articles that will be voted on individually by the townspeople.
Yep, got it. No, we're okay with all
Okay.
Andrew, you missed Article 17.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, there were two housing trust fund articles there. So, and both of them. So this is to see if the town will vote to transfer 55,000 from the housing trust fund for improvements and deferred maintenance at Cowell Gym, repair of bleachers, basement windows, repairs to TAB room, etc. Any comments on that?
Just that it's about time we started taking care of that building.
Mm-hmm.
If there's
Hearing none from the Finance Committee, we'll go on to.
just before you do that, Andrew, if I may, back on 18, we kind of jumped off that quick.
Yes.
The amount that they used of 144,000 is, I think, conservative, and hats off to them for not overshooting anticipated revenues. I know they've got the formulas in place, but originally it was hoped to be larger than that, and it could be, but I think what they put forward is very well done.
So this projected amount here, which is what, about 140,000, represents both the town, what the town will collect and what the state will match.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Any other comments there?
No.
All right. And Terry, I'm just curious, there are three sort of reserve sub buckets here in historic preservation, community housing, and open space. There is a fourth bucket for recreation. Is that part of open space, or does that not get its own reserve?
These reserve amounts or percentages are established by the Community Preservation Committee bylaw. So I don't recall what the percentage is, but they worked with the assessor's office and the tax collector's office to come up with what the estimated revenue would be. And then they earmarked based on the requirements, how much to put in each account.
No, I understand.
But yes,
that.
open space would cover recreation.
Okay,
Right.
so those are two categories in one, in effect.
Yes.
Okay. Article 19 is transferred 10,000 from stabilization to complete a wage and classification study for the police department. Any comment there?
No.
Okay. Article 20 is transfer 75,000 from stabilization to engage the services of a streetlight consulting firm to acquire, install, and perform maintenance on LED streetlights. Comments there?
No, that's kind of still kind of in flux, right? They're still working on that whole total for that budget, right?
That's correct.
Okay.
So I don't know, Terry, is it still possible for them to adjust these numbers prior to the meeting, or is this what we're going to take into the meeting?
They could certainly bring a lesser number and recommend that the amount be amended on town meeting floor.
I see.
But
okay.
That's a work in progress.
Right. So this is kind of their outside dollar figure, and it may go down from here. And then, as they mention it in the bottom paragraph, they may be able to reduce it further if they can get awarded a Green Communities grant to offset some of this cost. Article 21 is to vote to transfer 428,114 to free cash. In free cash to the unrestricted stabilization account. Any comments there?
No.
No. Hey, Terry, what's the rough balance of the unrestricted account today or before this transfer? Just rough ballpark.
Hold on one second.
Oh, it should be
You have it on.
276. $757 is the beginning balance.
And then it'll go up,
February,
and then it goes up by 428.
yeah.
Got it.
Yes.
Got it. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
And the next three items are ones the town is required to vote on behalf of the sewer district. Any comments on those?
No.
No.
Okay. Article 25 is to vote to revise the Shelburne Town bylaws, rescinding Section 7, Article 2, regarding the town collector, retaining fees from municipal lien certificates. Any comments on this one?
No.
Article 26, to see if the town will add the following subsections to section 6.0 of special permits and findings of the Shelburne zoning bylaws. Any comments on those?
Can you give us just a brief overview, just for my own personal? I didn't really know what it was telling me, really.
It looks like they're deleting a whole section on defining what a trail is, because that has been deemed to be not needed in the zoning bylaw.
Ah, okay, all right.
Did we just skip from 26 down to 27?
So I'm sorry, did you want to say, oh, I'm sorry, Rick, you're right. I missed 26 altogether. 26 is to vote to add the following subsection. Oh, I thought I did that. Oh,
yeah,
no.
But then we kind of just went into.
Oh, I'm sorry. 6.8 is the subsection. The zoning, the ZBA, except as otherwise specified in any town bylaw, the ZBA shall serve as the special permit granting authority for the town. I didn't think that needed to be said, but apparently it does. So that's what they're asking to be put into the bylaw, is spelling out in hard black and white that they are the special permit granting authority. They've been acting in that capacity for many years, I understand, yes? Is that true, Terry, that they've always been the special permit granting authority?
As far as I know, yes.
Yeah, so now we're writing it down. Any other comments on that?
I did attend the public hearing for that, and there was no pushback at all.
Okay, great. Article 28.
We may as well take all the school articles together. You
Okay.
probably saw that I had reached out to Willow, and she had provided me with a red line document. And now I'm asking, why can't they just incorporate the changes instead of stating what it currently says and then what it will say? And she's going to look into that.
She did send you a red line document, right?
She did, and it's much shorter than the way it's presented in our warrant currently.
Uh-huh.
But I really can't change what the school sent to every member town until I have their approval to do so.
Okay. Boy, that is a whole lot of print there.
I'm not even sure where it's at this point. We've got so many versions and changes. I just got to figure it all out, to be honest with you. But
yeah, well, they're going to have their work cut out for them to take the voters through this in its current form. It's almost 10 pages long. So Terry, how should we proceed here? I don't know if the Finance Committee has seen the version that Willow emailed out.
I did send them a copy today, whether or not you've had a chance to look at it.
I mean, I guess my question to you all would be, do you think in principle that that's a a more clear and efficient way to go about this, helping the voters understand what is actually being asked for here?
Yeah, I think, I mean, one of the issues continues to be just the inability to kind of quantify what this actually means, right? I think that's been the ongoing challenges. There's 10 pages of words.
Yeah.
When you ask, well, what is the real impact of this? Like, there's no real answers. So I think that's at least one of the challenges on our side. I do think if they're going to show it, the red line makes a lot more sense. But I think from a financial standpoint, it's hard to have a real view just because there's uncertainty, right? We just don't know what it will result in.
Yeah. Terry, do you have any thumbnail that you want to offer at this point about what a yes and a no vote means here?
No.
No.
I think we've all asked, and it's kind of been, we don't really know.
Okay, well, I guess we're going to rely on our.
I'm telling you it's a good idea, but we don't really know.
And we can't really estimate it because we don't have real numbers going forward, is kind of where we landed with them. So
It's important.
It's really important. Right.
it's all about fairness.
Well, hold on, Mike. So.
And voters are gonna wade through this one, just trying to do it for over a year.
I know.
Yes.
Oh, right. Okay. So this is essentially what Jason and Willow went over with us. Essentially asking the voters if apportioning the way that we count students for the the town assessments.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Is
what the bulk of all this is. Yeah.
Is a more fair and accurate way of doing it than the way it's currently spelled out in the agreement. And I think the best they could offer us was a 5-year look back of saying, here are the numbers over the last 5 years of enrollments and how those would have been, those were assessed in terms of capital. In terms of town assessment costs, and and that a 5-year rolling average would be applied to the going forward. But we don't have those forward-looking numbers because they haven't happened yet. So all we can do is look back and say, does this look like it would be a fairer way of doing things? That's my understanding of what they're asking for. But I don't know, I guess we can just let them make that case and hopefully be able to point the voters toward the actual language changes that they're asking for, which I would prefer to see in a redlined version. But I don't know, do you all have a feel for that?
Well, I think what would be helpful is someone should write a 2-paragraph summary of each of these, or all 3 of them, and just put it right at the beginning, or at least hand it out or voice it over and explain to everyone what it is. Because I think your articulation of it is a good summary of the way they've outlined it. I still don't think people understand how is the allocation, how is the counting changing, and so I think some plain English summary is probably useful, because is
Right.
I mean, we've been struggling with this for a year now. There's no way that people get through this in town meeting, see this for the first time, and there's no chance.
They're
Right?
just gonna get lost in the weeds trying to read it and keep up with the meeting.
I don't know, people may say yes, may say no, but it's not gonna be because they understand it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a good suggestion, Todd. And we have done, or we have asked for that in other, not just for the schools, but for the planning board, when they have lengthy, amendments to the bylaws that they're proposing, that we've asked them to kind of give us a cheat sheet to, walk through it with them. Terry, is that something we could ask for our school committee reps to produce?
Sure.
Great.
For all 3 of the articles, that'd be great.
Yeah. And
The third one is pretty self-explanatory. It just tells when the changes would go into effect.
Right.
yeah. Great. No, I think if we had that handout, that would hopefully make that a lot less painful to walk through. So that's our warrant in 30 articles.
You might, there's more, Andrew.
Did I miss something?
Were they not included? Article 31 and 32, the school had asked to put on the two
Oh, I'm
appropriations.
sorry. There, yes, yes. So 31 is to vote to raise and appropriate 13,000 for the telephone infrastructure at BSE, and 32 is to raise by taxation 3621 to fund telephone infrastructure at Mohawk. And remind me, Terry, where we came out on this in terms of we're now raising this by taxation, but they actually have the money to do this. Isn't that right?
They took our surplus capital funds and applied it to our capital assessment, and then asked us to put these two articles on the warrant.
Oh, so they've given that money back in another bucket and then asked for it here.
Yes.
As taxation. Okay. So it's a wash financially, but we do have to vote to tax ourselves in this on these two articles. Any comments on that?
No, we don't have comments on those two.
Okay. Rick, any thoughts on your end?
No more. I agree that additional document from the school will be very helpful. When it says strike current item A through J, and then replace with these, and you try and hold them together and read one and read the other, it's ridiculous trying to find out what they changed where. So it will be very helpful if they can give us a better document. Even though we can't change the warrant, something that is a little more concise as to what's going on there.
Great. Finance Committee, any other final comments on this?
No,
I think we're good.
I think we're all good.
Okay, thank you all. And Rick, typically when we go through the warrant, we, as a three-person board, we each kind of earmark the items that we're going to present. Since there's only two of us, we could just go back and forth. I don't know if you have any preference in that regard. The only items I would sort of hold out are the three sewer items, because I'm one of Shelburne's two sewer commissioners. So I should probably present those. And then the item that I proposed about eliminating changing the language on how we collect fees is something that I put forward. So I'd be happy to speak to that if needed. But other than that, I don't really have any druthers about who says what.
I don't either. I don't.
We meet again the evening before town meeting, so you could always divvy them up then if you'd like.
Okay, well, why don't we run through them there, Rick, and you can look at it between now and then, and if there's anything in particular that jumps out at you, you can call that out.
Very good.
Great. So,
Thank you.
thank you all.
Thanks, guys.
So we'll move on to item B of new business, sewer commissioners regarding community one-stop for growth. I spoke with Terry about this. The Shelburne Sewer Commission, Rick, just FYI, generally splits the cost of running the village sewer, water and sewer district 50-50 with Buckland, with the exception of the pumping station, which is on the Shelburne side of the river, and we need to use to get our material across to the treatment plant on the Buckland side. And that equipment is aging, and we have a kind of, we think, some opportunities to get grant funding to replace the pumping station equipment. So Heather Butler, who's the Buckland Town Administrator and also the Sewer Commission's administrator, is willing to put together the information for a one-stop grant application, but we need the approval of the town of Shelburne to submit it, because the Sewer Commission, even though it's a separate administrative entity, apparently does not have the mojo to submit one-stop applications as a sewer district. It needs one of the towns to do that for them. So I'm just coming to you to see if you have any objection to having the town of Shelburne be our sponsor for a one-stop application.
Terry, what's your thought?
As long as Heather's willing to do the legwork, because I can't take on another grant at the moment, I'm happy to upload it.
Yeah, I think that's essentially what she's asking for.
Then I'm okay with it.
Okay. Great. Do we need a motion to that effect, Harry?
It certainly wouldn't help. I wouldn't hurt. I'm sorry. So,
Okay. Rick, you want to move that?
How do I word that?
Well, just move that you authorize the town to submit a one-stop on behalf of the Sewer Commission.
So moved.
All right, and I will second. Great. All right, motion has been made and seconded. Is there further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we'll vote. Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And we have item C is Chris Curtis regarding a letter of support for the Woodland Partnership Grant. Terry, have we written that letter?
I have the letter drafted and I will have it out for your signature on Wednesday when you come to sign warrants, if you are so inclined to support this effort.
Great. And Rick, do you have any thoughts or questions?
I do. As you know, when I'm asked to sign off on something, a letter of support for something, I have a real tough time doing it without doing a little homework. I knew nothing about this particular river designation. Started to look at the link and the website that they have for it. Ran into concerning questions. Followed through, looked at their question and answer section, which is supposedly to be helpful. And one of the first ones says, will landowners be reimbursed for vandalism to their property associated with trespass? Well, I said to myself, what's that got to do with this? Because on the surface, it looks innocuous. But if you read that, it says no federal agencies do not have the authority to reimburse landowners for damage as a result of public use. Public use. So it's starting to sound like this would be starting in the direction of giving a federal agency control and management over, it says, up to 400 feet back from the river. Next question and answer says, will this designation increase recreational use and unauthorized uses on private land? The answer is designation may cause an increase in use along the river as new visitors seek it out. However, the wild and scenic river management requirements should ensure that any such increase will not damage resources on private property. If anything, there will be increased oversight after designation, discouraging litter, trespass, and vandalism. Private landowners may continue to post their property with no trespassing signs or require users to obtain landowner permission. Everything I read said that basically what we're supporting here is a study that would lead toward giving management of the riverfront through Shelburne to a federal group for recreation, opening it up to public places where it currently isn't. We have a wonderful open space committee who focuses and does work in this same vein. And the more I read, I kept trying to find that nugget. I was hoping this Chris Curtis would be here tonight to give us some feedback. But I couldn't find anything that said, man, this is, yeah, we ought to do this. So what did you find when you looked at it, Andrew?
Well, I confess I have not looked at it in the same detail that you have. My sort of more practical response to this is that my understanding of the National Wild and Scenic River designation is that it would give the town, along with other towns along the Deerfield River, the opportunity to perhaps access federal funding that would come through this designation to do preservation activities or things like that. The other sort of practical perspective I take on it is that when I think of the Deerfield River as it passes through Shelburne, I can only think of 2 spots at present that are actually where the public has, well, maybe 3 spots where the public has some ability to get from a roadway down to the river. One of them is Sunburn Beach above the village. The other is Wilcox Hollow below the dams. And the third is Bardwell's Ferry Bridge, where I have put my canoe in the water on occasion to go down to Deerfield or to the Connecticut River. And in passing along the banks of the river on that, you know, you can get out on a sandbar maybe once or twice in that trip, but there isn't really any other way to access the river. So having a federal designation doesn't seem like it would impinge on the practical ability of people to come down to the water's edge to any greater extent than they can do now, which is pretty limited.
Well, I don't think it would impinge on people's access to the river. I think it'll actually enhance it, because when you take the money, you're required to open it to the public. And it talks here about they'll help with making brochures and maps for access of it. So to me, it sounds like they want to open, take over the management and open it up to more access points to the river. We have a lot of people whose properties go right down to the river.
But where would they make additional access to than the 3 points that I described?
I have no idea, but the Sunburn Beach is already a contentious issue in that the property owner has posted it. We've put up road signs prohibiting parking, trying to do everything possible to discourage it because of the amount of litter and raising of the Dickens that goes on down there. So this just seems like opening one more door to put a federal agency involved in making decisions of how we enjoy the river that runs through our town. And we have an open space committee that is focused on that. So I guess, like I said, I was hoping Chris Curtis could attend and give us the upside, or tell me where I'm wrong in my perception that if this happens, it will become supervised by a bureaucratic federal agency instead of our own local people.
Terry,
I can ask him to come in to our next meeting. It would give us a day to get the letter signed and in his hand.
Oh, it says the grant must be submitted on May 9th.
Yes, I believe we meet May 6th.
Right. Well, it sounds like that's what you're looking for, Rick,
I would appreciate it. I mean, I'd hate to say no to it now and have it be a good thing for us because I didn't understand something, and I would much prefer to have him or she, if it's Chris, he or she give us an overview of the pros and cons of it, and then we can make a decision.
I'm fine with that, Rick. I think we would all sleep more comfortably in our beds if we knew what we were voting on here. So good. Well, Terry, if you can invite him, that would be great.
Sure. Thank you.
Sorry, let me get back to the top of my agenda here. All right, so we're on to item D, highway laborer equipment operator position. I believe we have a candidate. Is that right, Terry?
Yes, the gentleman that we interviewed on the 16th, I provided each of you reference checks. And if you feel comfortable offering him the position, I'd be happy to get a letter out and get the ball rolling.
Rick, your thoughts?
I did read them and I'm very comfortable with this person. I thought he was pretty straightforward in the interview. He's obviously all licensed in all the areas we need him to be. He has the support of the superintendent. So I am in favor of and will move that we employ the applicant. And I must confess, in all my papers, I can't remember his name.
It's Todd Senecal.
Todd Senecal, there you go. I would move that we offer that position to Todd Senecal.
All right, and I will second. And is there further discussion? I would only say that I agree with your assessment, Rick. I thought I found him to be straightforward and well qualified. So if there's no further discussion, we'll vote. Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And item E is the highway superintendent search. We have received a notice of resignation from our current highway superintendent, Mark Shippey, who gave us a date of July 27th. Is that correct, Terry?
That is correct.
Of when he will be leaving his post after many years. And the question is when to advertise and form a search committee. My feeling would be to advertise as soon as possible to see what we can do to bring in a good crop of well-qualified candidates and hopefully get somebody on board while Mark is still around to do some knowledge transfer so that we can have that new person hit the ground running. Rick, your thoughts?
I agree 100%. Advertise as soon as possible. The search committee, that's standard operating procedure for a position like that, or?
We have in the past, it may be search committee is not the right language. We have had established a committee that reviews the resumes received and brings forth recommendations for interview and hire.
Well, I'm happy to do that as the highway liaison to work with you on that. Terry, are there other people who should be doing that? Or Rick, do you want to be involved in that also?
We have to post meetings every time we got together. Might complicate it a bit.
Yeah, let's see how many we get and then I guess make the decision from there.
Yeah,
that sounds good. So Terry, you'll and Rick, have you had a chance to look at the job description that Terry circulated?
I have.
Okay.
I didn't have any anything that I felt needed to be changed.
Okay.
It's very comprehensive.
It is very comprehensive, yeah. I don't think I've seen I think a 5 or 6 page job description in a while, so. So Terry, are you comfortable then going forward with the posting and what do you think in terms of a window of time to set for receiving applications?
Oh, boy. At least a month anyway, I would think.
Yeah. And I think having that, having a deadline in place a month out and then adding the provisional language of position open until qualified candidate found or whatever,
Yes.
will be helpful, just in case we don't get as many as we hope for. And good. All right. So we'll look for your update on that. Do you need a motion to that effect, Terry?
No.
Okay. So item F is transfer station policy review. Rick, have you had a chance to look at that?
I have. I find it straightforward and clear. You had a suggestion of, since this was from, I forget when it was last updated, but you had a suggestion of one service that's available there now that's not mentioned.
Yeah, it was about I think Terry added item 8 about encouraging residents to dispose of food waste composting materials.
Okay.
Because the state is, I think, moving people towards mandatory separation of food waste from trash to try to get that out of the landfill. It sounds like it's still not in the mandatory phase. Is that right, Terry?
That's correct.
Yeah, so we're just encouraging at this point, but we have a food waste composting bin at the transfer station that people can come and use if they don't do their own backyard composting or whatever. Terry, that was the only change, yeah?
Yes. At some point, I do think we need to decide whether we want to go to a window sticker, because if the town of Buckland has voted to do that for their transfer station, I feel like it may impact our transfer station unless we do the same.
They require a Buckland window sticker?
They are going to be requiring it in 2025.
I see. In addition to bag stickers then?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. And will that come with a fee, or is that just you get as a resident of the town?
No, you would pay a fee. I think Buckland's charging $10. There'd be 2 stickers per household, $10 each. And the sticker number would be registered to your household.
I see. Go ahead, Rick.
I like that they don't sell stickers at the transfer station either. I think that's a good, it just makes it too easy for non-residents to continue the problem we're currently finding.
I will be looking at a few businesses that might be willing to sell them so that we could eventually move away from that practice too.
Yeah. But I mean, a non-resident could just as easily go to Keystone or whatever place you're selling stickers and buy a sticker and bring it to the transfer station.
Mm-hmm. Yep, which I think is a good argument for the window stickers.
Yeah.
One of the reasons transfer stations are moving away from that, because it is time consuming for the attendants to be selling, making change, then at the end of the shift, being the custodian for the money collected when they're not bonded.
Yeah.
And then they drive to a deposit facility afterwards, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it seems like a lot to ask, especially when we're staffed by one at most times.
There'll be more to come on that once we have a full board.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fine with moving in that direction too, but I agree with you. I think having a third board member would be helpful. Doesn't sound like we need to take immediate action in that regard.
No.
And this policy that we're reviewing is one of our purposes here to post this on our website and at the transfer station?
It is already posted on our website. We can post it also at the transfer station. It was just a matter of updating it and having you review to see if you wanted any changes made. So if you're comfortable with the language as presented, perhaps we could get it out in the two-town newsletter too.
Yeah.
So do we need a motion to adopt this policy revision, or
I think so, yeah, because we have it, we're proposing a little update here.
Okay, then I will move that we accept the Town of Shelburne Transfer Station Policy updated 4/22/2024, 8 items as presented this evening.
And I will second that motion. Oh, well, there's actually 10 items. The last 2 are misnumbered.
I'll take care of that.
Good catch.
So as I will second as amended there. And any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, we'll bring to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the 10 items carry. Good. All right, and item G is Tom Williams, Emergency Management Director, regarding his request to designate the police station municipal building as an emergency operations center. Rick, do you have more on that?
As I mentioned, the last cog in that wheel was getting the radios transferred from what has been our official emergency operations center, which is the Shelburne Center Fire Station, where the radios previously lived. They are now moved and active at our municipal building, the Shelburne Police and EMC. And they are ready to have that designation just made official by us.
You want to move that?
Yes. I would move that we designate the Shelburne Police Station Municipal Building as the official emergency operations center.
And I will second that. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote. Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. Item H is the Recreation Committee regarding the award of landscaping proposal. Any questions or thoughts on that, Rick?
No, I believe you, Terry, and I have all individually met with the representative from the Recreation Committee, explained the proposal. It makes total sense to me. That's definitely an underused facility that I started playing on when I was 8 probably, and it's sad to see it in the shape it is now. And it sounds like with a good local contractor for relatively short money, they're going to be able to increase its usability for sure. So I support that request.
Good, and that's for $13,312, and it sounds like they have a grant to pay for it. So I will second that motion. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, we'll bring to a vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And item I is the Bridge Street Bazaar regarding the Porch Music Festival. Great.
Sunday, July 14th.
This is in keeping with last year where music events were occurring all over Shelburne and Buckland. And they just wanted to let us know that these are the locations that have been earmarked so far.
Great. And it looks like they have more locations in the businesses in the business district than in previous years. So it's becoming more town-wide in that regard. And they are requesting that we waive the permit fee for this event. How are you feeling about that, Rick?
What is the fee?
The only fee that would come into play is an entertainment permit, and typically it would be issued to every single location. And last year, we just declared it as a community-wide event and waived the fee.
That was my memory. I'm in support of that as well for this year.
Okay, I am as well. Is there, do you want to make a motion to that effect, Rick?
If it's needed, I so move.
Okay, I will second that. I think we do need to move to waive the permit fee.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? And hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and the motion carries. And that will be on Sunday, July 14th from 11 to 6 p.m., 11 a.m. to 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And Terry, do we have any other business?
I have just two items. The Open Space Committee has been working with a surveyor, Green River Survey Company. And now that the field work has been complete, he'd like to speak, both the surveyor and the Open Space Committee would like to speak to town council regarding easements. So they're asking permission to incur 1 hour of Donna's time for this discussion.
I have no objection to that. Rick?
I have none either.
All right. Do we
Okay.
need a motion to that effect or no?
No, that's fine.
Okay. And what else do you have?
I just wanted to let you know that Rick Grant is a seasonal employee of the highway department who's been doing snow removal. And he's now willing to take on mowing, trimming, and serving as a spare transfer station attendant. So I just wanted to let you know that George Sinister has retired and Rick Grant is willing to step into that role under the supervision of the highway superintendent.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
And do you know Rick Grant?
Yes, yeah, he's
Okay.
been great in terms of snow removal. And this would also alleviate Joe Fink from having to leave his highway job and work at the transfer station from 4 to 7 on Tuesdays. And it's just nice to have another spare in the mix too, if our attendant becomes sick.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a great transition. My only question there is, was George doing other tasks like cleaning or upkeep in town buildings, or is that somebody else that does that?
No, we have a custodian that takes care of all the town buildings.
Okay, I wasn't sure. So everything that George Sinister was doing, he's willing to pick up then?
Yes.
Great. And do we need to do anything more formal to hire him to do that?
He's already been hired as a seasonal worker for the highway department. So I suppose we could have a motion to also assign him as the transfer station attendant spare. And he'll also go through OSHA training for that position and work with Joe Giard to learn the ropes for the next few weeks.
Rick, do you want to make that motion?
Do I need to include the reference to after OSHA training? Or that?
No, I think we would just appoint him as a spare transfer station attendant.
Okay. Rick Grant has been serving on the Emergency Management Task Force. He's attended regularly the Emergency Management Committee meetings. Very pleasant. I think it'll be terrific at the transfer station. So I'm happy to move that we appoint Rick Grant as the transfer station spare attendant.
And to the other mowing and other jobs that Joe.
I thought that was already under the highway part that he's doing, no?
Yes, he's already a temporary highway worker. This would be in addition to.
Oh, so he's already doing the mowing and other things like that?
He is a seasonal highway worker who's been doing our shoveling. Now we're transitioning to the mowing season and he's agreed to step up. But he would still be a part-time laborer for the highway department.
Okay, so that's already covered then.
Yes.
Okay, good. I will second your motion, Rick. Further discussion? And hearing none, we'll vote. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye. And thank you to Rick Grant for stepping into that gap. Anything further?
No.
Our annual town meeting is May 7th at 6:30 at Buckland Shelburne Elementary. That's, I guess, the next place we'll see everybody. Oh, and our next meeting is Monday, May 6th. So we'll have one final meeting before town meeting. Rick, any correspondence that you want to comment on?
I have seen none, no.
Okay. And I don't, oh, there is a member of the public here. Is there public comment? John Walsh, were you wanting to comment as a member of the public?
No.
Okay.
Then I will move we adjourn.
All right, the motion has been made and I will second. All in favor, Rick?
Aye.
Andrew is aye, and we are adjourned. All righty, well, thank you all.